2 months after my boyfriend went missing, I saw him on the street. He was arrogantly talking to someone. Missing? Of course, I faked it. My girlfriend's too clingy, I needed to teach her a lesson. I had Ellis help me cover up the lie, and she didn't suspect a thing. Ellis is his good buddy. I pretended I hadn't heard anything. When I got home, the man gently hugged me from behind. Any leads on him today? No. I kissed Ellis and said with false regret. He's probably really dead. 2 months after Duke went missing, I unexpectedly saw him. He was with his friends, still carrying that same arrogant attitude. Duke, since you disappeared, we barely get to see you. I couldn't help it. Duke said nonchalantly. Alice is too clingy, always controlling everything. I had to teach her a lesson. Where did you get the idea to go missing? I taught him. The girl next to Duke raised an eyebrow, clearly pleased. With that brain of his, you think he could come up with such a brilliant plan on his own? He had to rely on me. Yeah, you're the best. Duke smiled indulgently. I recognized the girl. Gladys, the only girl in Duke's inner circle. But, playing such a big game, don't you think Alice might suspect something? I had Ellis cover for me, no problem. Duke said, and everyone suddenly understood. No wonder. With Ellis's backup, who would suspect anything? Gladys sneered, clearly, it's because Alice is stupid. I waited for Duke to refute her. But instead, he gently reassured her. Exactly, she's not as smart or beautiful as you. The others all laughed, as if they were used to it. You two should just handle it internally and stop looking for girlfriends. I don't eat where I sleep. Go away, I'm not interested in you either. They exchanged looks of disdain. But their legs under the table were still rubbing together casually. As the conversation wound down, someone asked. Being missing like this isn't sustainable, Duke. When are you planning to go back? Duke answered confidently. I'll go back when Alice is crazy enough looking for me. I was supposed to go to the police station today to report him missing. But I changed my mind. Instead, I bought my favorite snacks. And treated myself to a nice spa. By the time I got home, it was already evening. The lights were off inside. I thought Ellis had already left. Just as I slipped on my slippers, someone suddenly hugged me from behind. My body stiffened, and I asked, have you been drinking? Ellis didn't answer directly. What did you do today? You didn't pick up my calls. Sorry, I didn't check my phone. Any leads on Duke? Sigh, no. My tone was full of regret. Ellis hugged me tighter, his breath warm against my neck. It's all my fault. If I hadn't dragged him into that mountain climb, he wouldn't have disappeared. He seemed genuinely remorseful. If only his warm tongue hadn't brushed against my earlobe. Ellis is one of Duke's good friends. After Duke went missing, one of them stayed visible, while the other hid in the shadows. Ellis played the role of the repentant one. But Duke didn't seem to know. This friend of his had a rather special way of showing repentance. Ellis is the heir of a wealthy family. His background even better than Duke's. He carries himself coldly and aloof in front of others. I used to think that way too. Normally, I barely spoke to Ellis. After graduation, I found a job. It just so happened that the company was also part of Ellis's family's business. Ellis became my boss. That made the distance between us even greater. We only started to become familiar about a month ago. I suddenly received the news about Duke's disappearance. And I collapsed for a while. Ellis, feeling guilty as the one who caused it, said he'd help take care of me for a while. But he was a little too meticulous. He insisted on making all my meals and bringing them to me personally. It made me feel so awkward that I said, "This isn't your fault." He likes outdoor activities, and even if you hadn't invited him, he would have climbed that mountain by himself. His parents didn't say anything, so I won't blame you either. You go ahead and do your thing, I really don't need you. Put down that shirt. I rushed over and snatched the underwear from his hands. I'll wash these myself. Ellis looked serious. I washed them more thoroughly. Are you sure you don't want my help? No, I'm sure. I was too embarrassed at the time to notice that he had his hand behind his back. rubbing it regretfully. So how did I find out Ellis's secret? I guess it was one night when I woke up to go to the bathroom. I found that Ellis was still lingering at my place, not leaving. I was about to ask him about it. Just as I leaned into the door, I saw. He was shirtless, his toned body on display. One hand was holding my lace camisole, while the other was hidden behind a cabinet. In the dim light, Ellis's muscles tensed, veins popping on his arm. I was startled by the scene in front of me. I couldn't help but make a sound. Ellis instantly turned around. As soon as he saw me, he tilted his head back. A low, trembling sound came from his throat. I discovered Ellis's secret. And so, I boarded his pirate ship. I knew I should push him away. I shouldn't have allowed his embraces and kisses. But I couldn't control myself. Maybe it was because, when I was on the verge of crying over Duke, Ellis was the only one who silently stayed by my side. Or maybe it was because I had already begun to suspect that Duke's disappearance was a scam. How could a son disappear, and the biological parents not report it, but instead stop me from reporting it? How could good friends not react when one of their own goes missing, and continue partying like nothing happened? All these doubts were finally confirmed today. They were all in on it, putting on a show for me. Even Ellis was an important part of the act. Back to the present. Ellis still wouldn't let go of me. I said, a bit tired, did you make dinner? I'm starving. It's ready, all your favorites. Go heat it up. Okay. Ellis immediately went to warm up the food. He didn't think there was anything strange about my tone of command. After dinner, I took off my inner layer and threw it to him. Wash this. Ellis hesitated, can I wash it? I'm tired today. I don't want to wash it myself. He looked pleased, taking the clothes into the bathroom. I knew he wouldn't be out for at least 20 minutes. Once Ellis was occupied, I unlocked his phone, which he had left on the table. Sure enough, Duke had another phone number and had been in constant contact with them. At first, Duke would ask about me. Alice, how's she doing? Ellis, she cried for a long time today. Duke, it's fine, she's always like that, crying and whining, it's so annoying. Thanks for keeping an eye on her. Ellis, when are we ending this charade? Duke, question mark. Ellis, if you don't like her, just break up with her. No need to mess with her. Duke, I don't not like her. I just think she's too controlling. She doesn't even let me go out for drinks at night. Gladys is right, she'll learn once she suffers a bit. Ellis didn't reply after that. A notification pinged, pulling my attention to a group chat. The group was named Princess Gladys and her 3 servants. Princess Gladys, breaking news, Alice cried again yesterday, and a colleague saw it. Servant number 1, Duke, I heard that too. Princess Gladys, my method is still the most effective, you'll have to treat me to a meal. This is the group chat for Duke and Gladys' little circle. There are 4 boys in total. 3 of them are numbered as servants. The extra one is Ellis. Only he uses his real name. I've heard Duke mention before that Ellis joined this group halfway. I don't know the exact reason, but I guess it's because Ellis's family business is huge, and they're involved in investments. With people like Duke and the others, they must have actively courted him. Ellis rarely speaks in the group. It's mostly Duke chatting with Gladys. Servant number 1, Duke. Treat you to a meal? Have I ever not treated you? I have a bank card with your name on it because Alice used to make a fuss about this. Princess Gladys. This makes me want to laugh. What's the relationship between us? We've known each other since we were kids. What's she even jealous of? I think she's just jealous of how many male friends I have. Duke sent a protecting the princess emoji. Alright, don't be mad. From now on, I'll let you choose the gifts I prepare for her first. Does that satisfy you, princess? That's more like it. I felt disgusted. I scrolled up through the chat history. They chat almost every day. If you didn't know better, you'd think they were flirting. It turns out every time Duke is late for a date, it's because of Gladys. Even when I was sick, alone in the hospital getting in for, he was there with Gladys. Even the Valentine's gift he gave me, was something Gladys had left over. A new message popped up. Duke sent Ellis a private message. I just remembered something. I mimicked Ellis's usually brief responses. 2 months ago, on Gladys's birthday night, I got drunk and spent the night at her place. Don't let this slip. Remember, that night, I was with you the whole time. I slowly typed, so what exactly happened between you two? Duke, tisk, didn't we agree not to bring this up again? Gladys and I both pretended like nothing happened that night. Otherwise, how would we stay friends? Ellis came out of the bathroom. His clothes were already washed. He looked calm, though the redness at the corner of his eyes hadn't fully faded. I smiled at him. Is your hand okay? Ellis froze. Although I had already discovered his secret. And we'd shared an embrace and kiss. We still hadn't taken things further. Did anything get on my clothes? I pointed to my shirt. I washed everything, you can check. Don't worry, I didn't mind. I looked at Ellis, his near-perfect physique. No matter how you looked at it, his looks were far superior to Duke's. You might have to help me wash a skirt later. What? Ellis looked down at me. He didn't quite get what I meant yet. I took off my clothes, stood on tiptoe, and kissed him. Ellis, Duke might really be dead. I said, feeling wronged. Will you stay with me tonight? After that night. Whenever I beckoned, Ellis would come. We were incredibly in sync. More so than with Duke. Ellis really cared about how I felt. So the experience was even better and more enjoyable than with Duke. Plus, their bodies and stamina were on completely different levels. I almost regretted it. Why hadn't I taken this step sooner? Why waste time with a deadbeat like Duke? Ellis didn't notice anything was wrong. Because I deleted the chat logs. Whenever I got the chance, I'd borrow his phone to check the group chat. I stopped looking for Duke's whereabouts. Duke seemed a little panicked. He tagged everyone in the group. What's going on? Why hasn't Alice reached out all of a sudden? One friend replied, don't worry, she's probably just tired, doesn't have the energy. That's impossible. Alice would always reach out to me no matter how tired or busy she is. Should I go back? Princess Gladys, hold off. Wait a little longer, going back now would ruin everything. Duke, no, I need to go back and check tomorrow. Princess Gladys, are you out of your mind? The plan I painstakingly set up for you, and you're not following it? What do you think I am? As a woman, I know exactly what she's up to. She probably overheard something and wants to force you to show up. Let me handle her. Duke fell silent for a moment. In the end, he obeyed. All right, I'll do it your way. That said, Duke was still worried. That night, he secretly called Ellis. The phone rang just as I straddled Ellis. It showed an unknown number. I pressed the answer button and held the phone to Ellis's ear. Hey, I just couldn't stop worrying, thought I'd check in on things. What's going on with Alice lately? Ellis thought I wouldn't be able to hear the voice on the phone. He answered vaguely, she's fine. Ellis, why does your voice sound strange? Is there a woman nearby? How did you know? I can tell just by listening. Am I interrupting something good? Maybe we should meet her sometime. Duke didn't finish his sentence. I suddenly spoke to Ellis, are you done? Pay attention. The phone fell silent for a moment. When Duke spoke again, his voice had changed. Ellis, who are you with right now? Ellis snapped out of his lustful haze. He quickly lowered the phone's volume, his voice calming down. You don't know her. But I could have sworn it sounded like Alice. You're mistaken. It's nothing, hang up, don't disturb me. Ellis hung up the phone. He rolled over and pulled me into his arms, his tone full of affection. Let's continue, I'll focus now. Don't continue. Aren't you worried Duke's going to rush over here? Ellis froze. I added, he's probably hiding in that house on the outskirts of the city, right? It'll only take him half an hour to drive here. You heard? To be honest, I've already seen him. Ellis's expression grew complicated. After a long pause, he processed everything. So you already knew he wasn't missing? Yeah. Doesn't this make you angry? I was angry at first, but then I realized, getting mad at someone like that is just bad for my health. The day I ran into Duke, I didn't rush up to confront him. I didn't shout at him. I didn't ask him why he lied to me. He was already so rotten. What could I expect from his mouth? I looked at Ellis. What about you? Don't you have anything to say? Ellis was the only one in their group who had opposed the faked disappearance plan. I was curious what had driven him to eventually agree to help. I owe him a favor. Ellis seemed to unload a heavy burden. Speaking honestly to me. Duke did me a big favor, and he used that to morally blackmail me into helping him. But no matter what, I shouldn't have lied to you. I'm sorry. Don't apologize, I'm actually glad you're here in this drama. What do you mean? I pinched Ellis's chin and smiled. Do you want to betray them and become my accomplice? As I expected. Duke was clearly still worried and came to check on me himself. At 1 a.m., he quietly entered my house. This house is rented by me, and Duke's fingerprints can unlock the door. I was lying in bed, deep in sleep. The bed was spotless. There were no signs of any man's belongings in the bedroom. On the nightstand, there was a tissue that had wiped away tears, along with a photo of us together. Duke finally relaxed. But what he didn't know was that I was pretending to sleep. The camera I had placed on the desk would record his every move. As long as he dared to touch me, Ellis, who was watching the security footage in the basement, would rush up immediately. Once Duke eased his doubts, he left. He went to meet Ellis. The two met at a convenience store. Sorry, I misunderstood you earlier, Duke said. No problem, Ellis replied. Where's your female companion? She's tired and didn't want to come out. Her voice sounded so much like Alice's. I'll make sure to bring her out next time and introduce you. Ellis didn't respond to that. Duke, looking a bit haggard, asked, Ellis, do you think I should just go back? Why do you think that? I haven't been sleeping well lately. Duke took a sip of his drink, his nose and eyes red. When I was with Alice, I always felt like she was too controlling. Now that I'm free, I just can't get used to it. I haven't been able to sleep properly for several nights. I heard Alice hasn't been trying to find any clues about me this week. Ellis comforted him. Don't worry. She hasn't given up on you. Recently, she even wanted to report to the police. Don't report to the police. That'll blow everything. I know. I stopped her. She hasn't been feeling well this week and hasn't had the energy to focus on it. Is she okay? She just has a cold, it's not serious. Duke sighed. I regret it. I made Alice go through so much pain. Don't say that. Ellis calmly advised him. Think about it. Remember how Alice wouldn't let you go out drinking late at night and always caused a scene when it came to Gladys? This time, she's just being a little more obedient. So, what should I do? Listen to Gladys. Wait a little longer. After Duke left, Ellis took his phone from the pocket on his chest. How did it go? He asked nervously. Everything went according to plan. I looked at the camera and smiled slightly. Come back, I'll give you a reward. The task I gave Ellis was simple. Keep Duke calm and continue with their disappearance plan. Because I had a big surprise prepared for Duke. 3 days later, it happened to be a Saturday. I invited a group of friends over to my place. They were all old classmates of mine and Duke's. I had carefully decorated the house. Hanging in the center was a photo of Duke. Next to it were 6 black letters. Duke Memorial Service. My friends were all startled. Alice, what's going on? I was dressed in black, looking exhausted and sorrowful. He's been missing for over a month. Why didn't you tell us sooner? I didn't want to disturb your lives. His parents wouldn't allow me to say anything. So, he's still missing? We still haven't found him. Everyone gasped. My God, it's been more than a month and he still hasn't been found, that means. I heard the best time to rescue someone is within 72 hours. After 72 hours, the chances of survival are very low. As I listened to their discussions, tears streamed down my face. Stop talking, Alice is already so heartbroken. Yeah, their relationship was so good. Alice must be devastated. Everyone comforted me for a while. One old classmate asked, "Don't the police have any leads?" I shook my head, feigning sadness. "No report has been filed." "Why didn't you report it?" "His parents don't agree. They want to use the family's resources to look for him." "That makes sense. They're rich, so they probably don't want this to go public." "Exactly. Duke's parents have high-status jobs and a respectable image. If something like this got exposed, it would be disastrous." I wiped away a tear from the corner of my eye. Then I raised my head and looked at the phone, which was live streaming. I had already informed some friends who couldn't make it to the gathering because they lived far away. So, I decided to go live and let them join remotely. No one objected. The viewers were very enthusiastic. It was rare to see a live-streamed memorial service. Soon, a large group of people entered the live stream. Many of them didn't even know Duke but still sent their condolences or lit candles. Of course, this sparked some discussions. How can a son go missing, and his parents refuse to file a report? Some viewers were suspicious. Yeah, shouldn't they have called the police right away? I found out that this family is pretty influential. Maybe they have their own rescue team? Impossible. I live near that mountain, and I haven't seen any rescue teams searching lately. I ignored these discussions. Don't worry. The other lead actor of this drama would soon make an appearance. As expected. Half an hour later, Gladys kicked open my door. "Alice, what are you doing?" She stormed in and ripped away the white cloth and photos. "He's not dead. Are you crazy?" I had a tear still hanging from my eye. In shock, I asked, What did you say?" "He's still alive." "You're an idiot." Oh, she didn't know that everything was being streamed live. Every word and action of hers was being recorded. She managed to get here so quickly because I had asked Ellis to notify her. "Gladys, I know you're good friends with Duke, but you don't have to comfort me like this. It's been over a month. I'm already mentally prepared." With that, I cried even harder. The number of viewers in the live stream kept rising. The comments got more and more lively, and people started criticizing Gladys, but she was oblivious to it all. "I'm telling you, Duke isn't dead. Stop all this morbid stuff." "Where's your proof?" I asked. "He's been with me this morning. He's alive and well." As soon as she said that, the room went silent. Everyone looked at her with strange expressions. I forced a smile. "Gladys, you shouldn't joke like this. Don't believe me? Look at this." She pulled out a selfie from her phone. Duke had bought her breakfast this morning. Gladys was wearing her pajamas, and the two of them were squeezed into the frame, almost touching. "Alice, I'm telling you the truth. He pretended to be missing because of you." Gladys crossed her arms and looked down at me. "Because you were too annoying. Duke couldn't get rid of you, so he had to use this method to hide from you." My face turned pale, and I almost collapsed. I was supported by a classmate beside me. "You mean, he couldn't bring himself to break up with me, so he used this kind of emotional manipulation to trick me?" "Don't blame him. If you're going to blame someone, blame yourself. Your parents are just regular workers. What made you think you deserved Duke? Getting dumped was just a matter of time." I did some quick calculations in my head. It was the critical moment. I steadied myself and asked, "Gladys, what exactly is your relationship with him?" "Friends." I frowned. "Really?" "Because, as his girlfriend, I don't know anything about him." "But you? Are you sure you two are just friends?" Gladys said with an unhappy expression. "Do you even know what childhood sweethearts mean? He's willing to share everything with me. I'm the closest person to him, after his parents." A friend next to her couldn't take it anymore and spoke up. "You guys have no sense of boundaries. You're just the mistress. You think you're so noble, hiding behind the guise of friendship. Disgusting. Alice, he's not worth it." "Alright, that's enough for now." Gladys' little drama was temporarily over. I made up an excuse about being tired and sent everyone away. Then I turned off the livestream. Next up, the male lead would appear. The reason Gladys went first was because Duke happened to be out of town today. Thanks to Ellis, I was able to keep track of everyone's movements with precision. Duke had seen the livestream. He called me countless times. He sent me an endless stream of apology messages. At 9 p.m., Duke finally returned to a city. He didn't even take a moment to rest and came straight to find me. But he didn't come alone. He brought Ellis with him. The moment he saw me, he broke down crying. "Alice, I really didn't mean it. I was just in a rush and agreed to the plan without thinking." I coldly looked at him. "Did you have fun this past month?" "I've been in pain." Duke dropped to his knees in front of me. "At first, I just wanted to teach you a lesson, make you listen to me. But after that, I couldn't sleep at night. All I could think about was you." "All you could think about was me?" "That didn't stop you from buying breakfast for other women, though." Duke froze. "I only see Gladys as a friend. If you don't like her, I won't hang out with her anymore. But I think you two are more suited for each other." No, no, no," Duke quickly shook his head. "I don't like her at all. She's been spoiled by her family since she was little, and her temper is terrible. I've been putting up with her. Alice, my heart is only for you." "Stop. Duke, you make me sick. Can you just get away from me?" I wasn't softening, and Duke was growing more desperate. He quickly turned to Ellis for help. "Ellis, can you talk some sense into her?" "Me? Help me cover up the lie. You're responsible for it too, so go and tell her." Ellis didn't immediately respond, but walked up to me. Suddenly, he lowered his head and gave me a soft kiss. "Alice, you look so beautiful when you're scolding someone." Duke completely broke down. He couldn't believe what he had just seen, even wondering if he was seeing things. That was, until I took the initiative to wrap my arms around Ellis's waist. Duke's face turned red in anger, and he swung his fist at Ellis. Of course, he was no match for Ellis. When Ellis dodged, he still made sure to protect me. Duke yelled, "I helped you, how could you steal my woman? First of all, Alice isn't anyone's woman. She's her own person. Secondly, you said that as long as I helped cover up this lie, we would call it even. I did it. But Ellis did it in a very special way. You still can't take advantage of the situation. Don't you think you're disgusting?" "Disgusting? Yeah, I am." Ellis smiled. His almond-shaped eyes curved into a beautiful arc. "Duke, from the moment you decided to lie to her, I've been preparing to take my place." In the end, Duke was driven away by Ellis. I also took the opportunity to delete his fingerprint lock. He stood outside all night. It just so happened that it rained the entire night as well. Duke was drenched to the bone, looking especially romantic and sorrowful. But I only felt disgusted. Thinking about how he had slept with Gladys made it even worse. Later that night, I asked Ellis to carry me to the window. The curtains and lighting reflected our figures. In the heat of the moment, Ellis gently bit my shoulder. His eyes peeked through a crack in the curtains, looking down. "He looks like he's about to lose it." "Let him lose it." Ellis trembled slightly. "Alice, I'm so happy." "Why's that?" "I've been waiting for this day for a long time." Duke really did go mad. He kept calling us, and even came up to smash the door. In the end, I called the police, and that's when he finally calmed down. The night passed, and the livestream video was still spreading. Thanks to Gladys. Our livestream wouldn't have gotten that much attention without her. But her insults to the working class made it go viral. Gladys' family background and work history were all dug up. Her family's company just released a public relations statement. And then someone leaked concrete proof of Gladys and Duke's affair. The video was very clear. Duke had drunk quite a bit and was supported by Gladys. He teased her, "If I stay over at your place tonight, aren't you scared?" Gladys gave him a look. "We've known each other for so many years, who's scared of who? You're so bold. If you've got the guts, try it later and see who begs for mercy first." The two of them bickered and went into the house. At this point, the filmer had not yet left. Until the sounds of intimacy came from inside the room. An off-screen voice mocked, "Hey, they're really going at it." Apart from the two people involved, everyone else's voices had been processed. So it was impossible to tell who filmed it or who was talking. But I knew. It must have been someone from their inner circle. Because Duke only hung out with them. And only they had the chance to film up close. That day was Gladys' birthday, and Ellis had something else to do, so he wasn't there. If we rule him out, it must have been the two other guys. That seemingly unbreakable inner circle was actually hiding plenty of dissatisfaction and conflict. After the affair was exposed, the scumbag and the mistress were thrust into the spotlight. Duke's family runs a clothing brand. Consumers rushed to return their purchases. The company suffered huge losses. At this point, Duke pushed all the blame onto Gladys. He cleaned his hands of everything. The whole disappearing act was Gladys' idea. She had seduced him into the affair. Duke even attached screenshots of their conversations. Gladys had sent him lingerie pictures in the middle of the night, asking him if a set looked good on her. The screenshots caused an uproar. She was viciously attacked online. Even her family's restaurant was deliberately harassed. Gladys panicked. She tried to defend herself. "We've known each other since childhood. To him, I'm just one of the guys." There was no intention to seduce him. But this excuse only made netizens even more disgusted. Gross. Why didn't you say you were one of the guys when you two were rolling around in bed? Most annoying type of platonic friendship with no boundaries. With nowhere to turn, Gladys ran to Ellis for help. The day she came to see Ellis, I was also there. When I saw Gladys' tired, anxious face through the video doorbell, Ellis didn't open the door. Instead, he asked me, "Should we see her?" "You decide. Let's meet her. I want to hear what she has to say." "All right." I stepped back into my room, giving them space to talk. But the soundproofing wasn't great. And their conversation came through loud and clear. Gladys spoke with a sob in her voice, "Ellis, you're the only one who can help me now." Ellis responded indifferently, "How can I help you?" "I know you're with Alice." "Yeah. You're just playing around with her, right? Your family's power is better than ours. There's no way you'd be interested in a regular girl like Alice." "What do you mean by regular girl?" Ellis asked coldly. "We're all regular people, Gladys." At this point, what are you still so proud of? Gladys choked, not daring to contradict him. "Anyway, all you need to do is come out and say that Alice orchestrated everything to cheat on you. Once it's done, I'll introduce you to more beautiful girls." Ellis snorted, "That's not happening." Gladys got anxious. "Aren't we good friends? Without Alice, who would be friends with you?" What? Don't understand? Let me be clearer. I only joined your hypocritical little group because of Alice." At this, not only was Gladys shocked, but so was I. Ellis continued slowly. "I met Alice in my first year of college and was impressed by her. Unfortunately, back then, I didn't get a chance to ask her name or contact info. By the time I saw her again, she was already with Duke." Gladys gasped. "So you joined us, just to—" "Yeah, to find a chance to seduce Alice." "You're crazy. They'd been together for 2 years. I've been waiting for 2 years too." Ellis smiled proudly. "Good things come to those who wait. Finally, I got my chance." "So you agreed to help Duke cover up his lie because—" Ellis nodded. "On the surface, it's to return Duke a favor. But in reality, I had my own plan from the start. In this grand farce, everyone had their own agenda. Only Ellis had kept his hidden until the very end." Gladys went pale. "You're a freak." "Same to you." After Gladys left, I crossed my arms and said to Ellis, "Wow, you even kept this from me. If I didn't, how could I rise to the top?" "What do you mean?" Ellis looked a bit helpless. "I'm supposed to be Duke's good buddy. If I confessed to you early on, you wouldn't have given me a chance. So I thought about it and decided to play the bad guy. I seduced you, made you fall for me, and took the blame for everything." Ellis appeared in my life as if he were a repentant sinner. He took care of me in the smallest details, pretending to casually show off his good physique, while no one else knew. He performed a one-man show, playing the role of a suave, competing bachelor. "What if your plan ultimately fails?" I asked. "It doesn't matter," Ellis smiled gently. "At least when you were heartbroken, I was there for you. That's enough." Gladys, isolated and defenseless, could only escape from a city in disgrace. Her family's business took a serious hit, with funds shrinking. She could no longer be the pampered rich girl. But I wasn't entirely satisfied. Clearly, the mistake was one both she and Duke made. Why should Duke stay hidden? I didn't have Duke's dark history in my hands. But I believed someone must have it. His closest friends from the past surely knew something. So, I found Gladys' Instagram. I sent her an anonymous message. I feel sorry for you. It's clearly the scumbag's fault. Why should you be the only one to take the fall? Don't let him off the hook. I'm rooting for you. As I expected, Gladys, now abandoned, would snap at any support. She began to release evidence of Duke bullying classmates. This was from their high school days. Duke had broken a boy's arm. In the end, the boy's parents paid tens of thousands to settle the matter. That year, Duke was still awarded as an outstanding student. Normally, such a scandal might not get much attention. But his family had just gone through a corporate battle. The competitor saw an opportunity and bought traffic and trending spots for Gladys' revelations. And just like that, Duke's good guy mask shattered. The situation escalated. More and more people came forward to expose Duke. He had little chance of recovering. Coincidentally, Duke had a younger brother. His parents, seeing the situation turn sour, immediately revoked his inheritance rights. Without the protection of his family, Duke fell from his high perch into the mud. He spent his days in a haze, drowning himself in alcohol. He had always been an alcoholic, and I had tried to persuade him to quit many times, but he found me annoying. Now, he had finally fallen because of it. One night, a drunk Duke was hit by a speeding car. He injured one of his legs. The doctor said he would be limping for the rest of his life. A few days later, a visitor arrived. It was Duke's parents. I wasn't unfamiliar with them, we'd met before. But they were all smiles, pretending to be nice, while secretly looking down on my family's status, helping Duke with his lies. Now, they were here to beg me. Alice, I've been decent to you, haven't I? I smiled. If you have something to say, just say it. He really did make a mistake, and we've given him a stern warning. But our family and our company are innocent. So, can you give a public explanation? Say that it's all in the past and you won't hold it against him anymore? I wanted to laugh. How thick-skinned do you have to be to make such a request? But well, I had my plan. I sniffed a couple of times, and in no time, tears filled my eyes. I know you've been good to me, and I don't want to hurt you. But the harm Duke did to me is just too much. I've been having nightmares for days. My friends even suggested I see a therapist. My tears fell without stopping. I'm really so sad, so hurt. I loved him so much, how could he deceive me? Yes, it's all his fault. The two of them exchanged a glance. How about we compensate you? How much do you want? I shook my head in horror. No, I don't want money. What a joke. If I opened my mouth, it would be blackmail. 200,000? This isn't something money can solve. 400,000? My feelings for Duke can't be measured by money. 500,000. I sighed. I think I'll just go see a therapist. I refused to take the money. I just kept emphasizing how badly my mental health had been affected. A day later, $1 million appeared in my bank account. The note said, "Voluntary compensation for emotional distress." I looked at the text message and smiled happily. Ella said, "You want money? I can give it to you." That's different. This is what I deserve. Neither Duke nor Ellis. I had never been after their family backgrounds or wealth. But if it's mine, I won't hesitate to take it. What's next? Ellis asked. Are you really going to forgive them? Of course. After all, they did give me money. One must have some integrity. I immediately filmed a forgiveness video. However, in the video, I cried again. I said I forgave them, but my tears didn't stop. Once the forgiveness video was sent out, Duke wouldn't get any mercy from the netizens. Duke used to complain about me crying. But he didn't know, I cried because I have overactive tear ducts and strong emotions. It doesn't mean I'm weak inside. On the day Christmas arrived, Ellis and I were holding hands, walking down the street. Suddenly, he stopped and pointed to a coffee shop ahead. "That's where I first saw you." That was the coffee shop I worked at during my freshman year. I was really tired that day, so I sat down for a while. "You brought me a cup of hot water." Ellis smiled softly, remembering the moment. "You said it didn't matter if I didn't buy coffee, because the boss had already left and I could relax." I touched my nose, embarrassed. "I remember now. I thought you couldn't afford coffee. Who would have known you'd end up buying the whole shop?" Ellis laughed. "Then you grabbed some snacks and went outside to feed the stray cats." I still remember that image. But later, when he came back to the coffee shop hoping to formally introduce himself, I had already quit my part-time job. After all the twists and turns, he finally found me. But by then, I had become Duke's girlfriend. Ellis didn't say anything that day. He simply lowered his eyes, bitter and alone. For the past 2 years, he had watched me pamper Duke, embrace him. But that wasn't the hardest part. The hardest part was that Duke didn't value me. The person he treated like a priceless treasure was just a bothersome accessory to Duke. Ellis had been struggling with his morals and emotions. And finally, Duke handed him an opportunity on a silver platter. This time, to hell with morals. Ellis thought, even if I get cursed for it, I have to try. I couldn't help but say, "Ellis, with your determination, you could succeed at anything." "Yes," he said seriously, looking at me. "So, will you take me with you to study abroad?" I froze for a moment. "How did you know?" "The reason I needed the money from Duke's parents was because I wanted to study abroad. I wanted to learn more, see a bigger world." After receiving the money, I sent an email to my preferred professor abroad. To my surprise, the professor was very interested in my undergraduate experience. Because I had participated in many social projects, they really liked students like me. The professor was willing to accept me, waiting only for the new school year. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hide it from you. I just didn't know how to bring it up. Alice, you don't need to worry about anything with me." Alice kissed my hand, with sincerity. "I know the US very well. I used to go there often. Buying a plane ticket is no big deal. If you don't mind, I'd rather be your companion while you study." My eyes lit up. "Really? You've tasted my cooking. Are you worried I won't take good care of you?" No, I was worried that being a companion would take up your time." Ellis shook his head. "My parents are planning to hand over the business over there to me. Then it's settled." "Alice, do you want to meet my parents? Isn't it too soon?" Just thinking about how Duke's parents had looked down on me made me hesitate. Ellis saw right through me. "I've already mentioned you to them. They really like you. You love braised fish, and my mom even taught me how to cook it, worried I wouldn't get it right." We shared stories about our families. Holding hands. Walking through the first snow of the year. 9 months later, Ellis and I boarded the plane to the US. My parents and Ellis's parents came to see us off. Ellis's dad kept giving him advice. "When you get there, take good care of Alice. Make sure you cook what she likes. If you need money, let me know. I'll send it to you." As expected, they were loaded. Ellis's mom was bustling around. "If he bullies you, tell me. Don't worry about anything, just focus on your studies." "Thank you." The weather was clear today, perfect for flying. I was heading toward a better future. The future was ahead. And my loved one by my side. Everything was just right. May we never be confined by labels. Whether we're thin or emotional. As long as our hearts are brave, we will always shine. The end.